Welcome in. I'm John. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you like painting, we're going to try painting a geisha girl here, and stay tuned. Thank you. Okay, so what I did is I actually drew out everything before I started painting. I like doing that ahead of time, and it just gives me some structure to how to paint. Now, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but that's how I like to do it. So I'll sketch out real lightly, and you can see that I have it's a woman in there that I'm sketching out, and it's basically it's a geisha girl. So I want to paint the red sun behind her, and then I'll paint her afterwards, and I'll fill in where her hair is and her clothes and all the other stuff will come in later. But I try to work from the back to the front. Sometimes that's not always the case, but in this case, we're going to do back to front on this. And there's going to be a spot in here where I thought the camera was still rolling, and it wasn't for some reason, and so we missed out on some of the details that I painted her jacket and coat, whatever. But for the most part, we got all the most important stuff here. As you can see, we're just using red for the back because that's what the sun for the Japanese style kind of, it's just a straight red deal. And it's very striking because we're going to do black hair and a white skin. So it's going to be very striking at the end. So if you can kind of stay there and watch me do this little guy. And that's it. This little paint here, paint there. And it doesn't matter, especially when you're doing hair, it doesn't have to be exact. Like if I paint over into the hair or something like that with the red, it's not a big deal. It's hair, there's not really a right or a wrong with this type of a hairstyle, I don't think. And, I add some stuff to it. And I was like, you know what look cool? Let's do some of this, or let's do some of that. And it all works out in the end. So I personally think what makes a good painter or a better painter than the average person is that because we all make mistakes. When you make a mistake, say you paint and it goes where you don't want it to go, and the only way to fix it is to come up with an idea and to hide it or fix it or whatever you want to call it, and then it looks like it's supposed to look. So the painting looks even better or whatever, but you don't even see any mistake. And pretty much every painting, I'll have a mistake here or there. I'm human just like everybody else, and then you just got to find a way to blend it in, hide it. Maybe you change the hair over here, maybe the coat goes over this way, maybe you add different colors to the coat, or whatever you're thinking. It doesn't really matter as long as it looks good. If you like it, then that's all that matters. Now I'm starting in on the hair, and again, I'm going with jet black. Typically I don't use black. Typically I'll use indigo, and that's pretty standard to use an indigo instead of a black, but indigo is blue. It's actually indigo is blue, but it's normal to use an indigo instead of a black. Like when I'm doing my chickadees, black cap chickadees, I actually don't use black, I actually use indigo. And you would not know that unless I told you, or unless you're a pretty good painter, you'd catch that with your eye. I know a man over there in Lakeside, Paul, he'd catch that. But he's a good painter. Anyway, so I'm just using straight black here. So now my black on the edges will go slightly over into the red to kind of cover that edge, or as close to it as possible. And sometimes if you want to go over it, you can hide the red with the black. And then, so I do the major work on the hair with the brush and paint. And then later I'm going to come in and I'm going to probably use a little bit of pen work on that. I like using the pen to do the finer hair. You don't have to. As before I told you, I like to use a really, really fine pen. I believe it is a .35 pen, millimeter. It's real thin. And I just have more control with it, and I feel comfortable with it, so that's why I use it. And when when I'm done with the painting and all that, it all looks good. It all looks real nice and sharp and clean. And I'm just cleaning up the rest of the hair, brushing her in, making sure she's got all her hair. Now you can start to see that. It looks pretty good. I kind of like that black against the red and the black. It looks nice. Important for me to get the center of this, so I took a little bit of time to make sure I centered her as much as I could in the paper. And then once I had her centered, and the reason why I like to draw first, trace her in there, get it all in there, is so that sometimes when you do that, you know that you're either centered or you're not centered, so you can make changes accordingly. So here I am. I'm gonna paint up some of the clothing. I don't know what you would call it. I'm not sure. I'm just doing a little. Now I'm blending it in. I like to do that. What we're going to do is we put a lot of paint up top, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out with some clean water. See, look at how that looks. See how nice that is? So now the coat isn't a solid. I mean, most clothing isn't solid, and you want to give it some shadow. You want to give it some texture, and this gives it some depth. So you put some in there along that. You want the leading edge to be the darkest. Then you pull that paint down. You pull it down with some clear water, or not clear water, but it's less of a color. It's less of a color than the solid line that you have. See how that gives you some shadow? Now I let it dry. Now I'm coming back over the top with my pen. See, now I'm getting the eyes done. We're getting see, look at the hair. See the hair that comes across her ears? See how, and then those things they stick in their hair. I don't know what they're called. They're not chopsticks, but they stick those things in their hair to help hold their bun in. I don't know. Maybe you can help me with. I can't remember what the name of that is, but I drew those in. So I kind of like those. I thought that was kind of cool. And then I'm just bringing the hair in with my pen work. Did her eyes with the pen. I like her lips with the pen, and then use a little bit of red for her lips. And then what we're doing is going to take a little bit lighter black, kind of a gray, and we're going to go through the hair, and it highlights the hair. As you can see that little white spot in it. It looks kind of whitish, but it's really gray. It's actually black, but I whiten it. I whiten it up a little bit. You can see the little bit of white in there. And then I'm putting a little bit of shadow underneath her chin. So I'm just putting some work in on the shadow. And it gives it a little depth. I mean, most of my paintings aren't very depth, oriented, but I do the best I can. And that gives her a better jawline that way. The hair, and then that jaw comes up in there. And by putting a little shadow underneath her chin, that's how you get that. And you see I'm doing a little bit of white with black in it, just a little bit, and it gives her a little bit of depth of her hair. And you kind of go, because your hair just isn't one big blob, so you're trying to give it some depth, and that's why I'm getting a little bit of different colors. Like if there's a light shining on her, on somebody's hair, her hair, even if it's jet black hair, it will shine. There'll be a shine to it, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing a little bit of eye work now, the best I can. Like I said, I like what I do. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but it's a painting, and they don't have to be absolutely perfect. They're just the way they are, and that's fine. I like what I do. They don't have to be perfect in my eyes. People aren't perfect, neither is paintings. They're just fun to do. They're just a lot of fun. And the great thing about it is you can stop, you can go back and rework it. And you see how it's chasing a fly out of there? See that? There it is, flies back, and then he took off again. Now I'm going to do some same thing. I'm going to do a little bit of highlights in her hair, because she had a bun. So I'm putting like a ribbon in her hair. Okay. So then I'm going to put I guess it would be, what would you call that? Like a medallion. You'll see I'm going to put like a sticker medallion thing in her hair. It kind of looks cool. Just like if you had a ribbon or something, sometimes they have an end to them that you can help hold her hair when she ties it together. anyways, you can see I'm trying to give her just a way of holding her hair like that. And I think that's coral. Yeah, that's coral right there. We're doing some coral, and we're doing a little bit of red. So coral and red, and what I'm trying, and some white. So I'm going to do, I think I'm going to give her some blush right now, because she needs to have blush on her under her eyes. I think that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm mixing. Mixing. Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to find the best color for her makeup. And as you can see, I think I put some of that makeup into the red of the sun, so I have to go back and fix that. But like I said, that's part of doing it. You can't do something without going through there, making some mistakes, and don't freak out. You can fix them. It's not a big deal. And see, and I thought it was rolling, and then see, I did some of the coat. I'm doing some of it, and it looks like gold, but that's actually in a coral color. So I thought my camera was rolling, and I did all the work on her clothing, but apparently it was off. And I'm just doing some touch-up work with the pen, and that's it. And I used that feather brush, and that it looks like gold, but I think it's coral color mixed with some yellow. I think is what that is. And I just experimented. I mean, I just made this whole thing up. I had no idea what type of jacket or clothes that she was going to be wearing. I just made it all up, and made up the colors and all that stuff. I thought, red, white, and blue. Even though she's a geisha girl from Japan, I thought, yeah, we'll see how it looks. I like it. I like the little bit of red, a little bit of blue in there. Goes well with the red, and the red and the black go well with her white skin. Now I'm going to lacquer this up, and that's going to bring it brings a little bit of depth and color to that. That brings that, because watercolors will wash out when they dry. Well, I hope you liked the painting of the geisha girl. I had a good time painting her, and as you see, that lacquer really gives it a lot more luster, because the colors will wash out. That's what watercolors do. Well, thank you so much for watching the video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much, and take care. Bye.